So Sonic Mania ended up doing really well for Sega, both critically and commercially, so you'd naturally expect that the dev team will be brought back for a sequel. Yes, we were getting another 2D Sonic game, but it would be created by Sonic Team themselves along with another developer, Arzest, going with the 3D models akin to Generations and Forces, with an emphasis on multiplayer gameplay, with Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy available to play as from the get-go. I played this near release and I remember thinking that it was decent, nothing mind-blowing, but nothing awful either, aside from one or two things that we'll get into. So let's give Sonic Superstars a revisit and see what it has to offer. We start with a beautiful, fully animated cutscene featuring Eggman, a deep-cut return of Fang the Hunter who hasn't been properly seen since, 1996 with Sonic the Fighters. I wasn't even born then. Not counting the little cameos in Generations and Mania anyway. Plus a newcomer, Trip the Sun Gazer, no prize for why they're named that. Eggman's up to his usual antics, searching for a dragon and plans to take over the world, when he's interrupted by Sonic and Co. arriving on the very same island. And we start right away in Bridge Island Zone, and as first stages go, it does a pretty stellar job of getting the player accustomed to how Superstars plays. All stages are rather vast, which does make sense given that they had to design levels to account for up to 4 players going through them at a time, but it manages to accomplish this without feeling empty, which isn't an easy job to do. Not only do you have the expected rings and power-ups like the shields as rewards for exploration, but you have gold coins that you can use to purchase things in the shop, which we'll talk about later, and giant rings, both gold and blue. Taking a page from Sonic 3 and Knuckles' book, the former are how you access the special stages where you have a chance to grab a Chaos Emerald in this honestly fun minigame where you need to lasso yourself over to it. You aren't just grabbing these to go super, however, as each collected Chaos Emerald grants the player an entirely new power to play with, which I'll discuss as I get them. This first one gives you the Avatar ability, summoning a bunch of clones on screen to bum rush whatever opponent you're facing. I tend to use this one for bosses almost exclusively. The latter blue rings are just to give you more gold coins, same with the returning Sonic 1 bonus stages, which don't make me feel quite as queasy going through them, but not by much. Something that I really like about this title is how they implement the playable characters. Each ones aren't tied to their own story like in past 2D entries. You can swap them out at almost any time at all and progress is shared regardless of who you play as. Plus, each character brings a unique ability to the table. Sonic has his returning drop dash from Sonic Mania, the Sonic Origins ports and, I guess, Forces. And it works just as well here. Tails, as I'm sure you can guess, has his flight, making discovering secrets and higher paths far easier. The next area, Speed Jungle Zone, I enjoy even more than the preceding one, with it centering around grinding quickly on gigantic vines and using them to launch yourself around, with rail grinding being such a novel concept for the 2D games, only being seen in the Advance and Rush games. Man, I really need to get to those for this channel, they're so much fun. It works out well in the classic style, plus the sheer speed you can gain really rivals that of Chemical Plant Zone in Sonic 2, with how the camera struggles to keep up with you here. Something else the game does that I'm quite fond of is character acts. In certain zones you'll have the option of playing through an extra level as a specific character, seen soonest with Sonic having an act of his own in Speed Jungle Zone. And I like this since you have the freedom to be any character you want. Some players may stick to one and not bother to change, and it gives them the chance to try out another one in a level dedicated to them. It's a great way of giving the game more variety, and it's in this act I got the second Chaos Emerald and the Bullet ability, which essentially acts as a fiery air dash, being both a good offensive move and a good way of course correction if you miss a jump, for example. Next up, I'm playing as Knuckles in Sky Temple Zone, which, while only containing one act, does a good job of padding it out without making it feel like it's overstaying its welcome. Knuckles retains a slightly slower movement speed in exchange for his gliding and wall climbing, which really came in handy for getting the third emerald here, giving access to vision, allowing you to find hidden platforms and the like, and I've got to say this is the weakest power so far, it's just super situational. Lastly, for the playable characters, we've got Amy, who not only has a double jump and a bigger hitbox due to a hammer, but also has the forward hammer slamming drop dash. Not a very catchy name, I know, but I didn't know what else to call it. And I played her in Pinball Carnival Zone. We have to have at least one pinball or casino themed level. It's probably my least favourite so far, mainly because I find it a bit confusing to navigate, since you can lock yourself out of various paths very easily. But I did manage to find the 4th Chaos Emerald in it, granting the Water ability, allowing you to dash along streams of water and turning the character into a water blob for a limited time. Still more on the situational side, but better than Vision at least. Lagoon City Zone's Amy-specific level also showcases one of the best features of the classic-styled Sonic games, the ability to tell stories with zero dialogue. Along the way, she'll bump into a distraught Trip, and without missing a beat, Amy carries them through the level despite them seemingly working with the enemy. This, combined with the cute animations of the pair, display not only Amy's unflinching kindness that makes her character so endearing, but also that there's clearly more to Trip than some clumsy minion. And since I got it here, I'm bringing it up now. What the fuck is going on with Special Stage 5? All the other special stages prior, I fucked with them, they were fun, but the difficulty spike here is insane. I think I had to retry it about 5 or 6 times before I got the emerald, and when I did, it wasn't like I had a strategy or anything, it just felt like pure chance. I can't remember if the remaining ones are like this, but I sincerely hope not. The reward for beating this batshit stage is the Ivy ability, breaking hazards directly above you and allowing you to grab onto it as it grows, but you can only use this effectively when on the ground, limiting its utility. Thankfully I did seem to be right, since the next special stage I found in the preceding level, Sand Sanctuary Zone, was significantly easier and more enjoyable to obtain, granting you slow, and I see what you're doing here, game, giving the yellow gem the ability to stop time. You ain't slick. Also, why didn't they just call this Chaos Control? Is it because it's before Sonic Adventure 2? It should be Chaos Control. Sand Sanctuary is a one-off level, and it's pretty fun to traverse, but a standout to me here is the music. I haven't talked about the music much in this video, which is weird given Sonic games are known for their banger soundtracks, and that's because, and I take no joy in saying this, Superstar's soundtrack is woefully made. I did find this tune catchy though, along with the special stage theme, but if any more come to mind, I'll let you know. Anyway, on to the next level, Preston Factory Zone, and the final emerald, which again, perfectly fine to get through, it just made special stage 5 just some weird outlier.
What's your fucking problem? What, are you gonna argue with me now?
This gives you an extra ability, another unique action depending on the character, which I'll go through in a bit, along with the super form now that all emeralds are collected. And I can remember vividly hating Press Factory Zone when I first played it, but I couldn't tell you why. But upon revisiting, I remembered quite easily. The layout's confusing, and Eggman's evil hydraulic press, and evil fucking time bomb in the background every 5 seconds, the former jostling you around and making you lose your place, and the latter blowing up the level unless you press a switch every 30 seconds. Just, it's horrible, I hate these gimmicks. Just make it easy on yourself and clear this level as Tails so you can ignore the bullshit. Why fuck around? Be a better friend to yourself. So, the extra abilities. Tails swipes his tail forward and makes a little tornado projectile. Knuckles throws hands, which essentially makes a little Hadouken. Amy gets the hammer throw, and last but not least, Sonic gets the homing attack. And in contrast to the previous zone, Golden Capital Zone is a blast to run through. It's not particularly challenging, but it's just very intuitive to blast through without being mindless. It's a good mix of platforming and high-speed fun. For the most part. Until we get to Act 2. First off, Fang only guns and fucking steals your emeralds, doesn't he? Game commits to it and all, you can't even use your powers. This is fine, levels are designed around it, so it's not a problem. What is a problem, it only ends with a fucking shite 5-minute auto-scroller. Are you joking me? I don't know why they keep putting auto-scrollers in classic Sonic. I know it's a very common trope in 2D platformers, but it's just never really worked with Sonic. But at least we get a little positive at the end, with Trip having enough of Fang's bullying and puts him in his place, taking the Chaos Emeralds back and absolutely blitzing him in her Dragon Super form. Something which completely took me by surprise in my first playthrough. With her finally joining the team thanks to her established friendship with Amy. Cyberstation Zone is just kinda there for me really. The aesthetic is really endearing, I love the pixely style and the various forms you turn into are cute. Plus the boss fight is this robot, which is one you can actually customize since it takes the form of the robot you create in the battle mode. It's just a shame that the battle mode along with this boss fight sucks ass. I couldn't resist making it Metal Knuckles. I always thought it was a design that goes so hard, and the fact that it's only really been featured in any meaningful way as Sonic R is borderline criminal. Frozen Base Zone is fun enough, first boss notwithstanding, but the ending being a space shooter was an appreciated mix-up. If Sonic Team really want to keep doing these auto-scroller sections, then having them being brief space shooters like this would be a much better fit in my opinion. And last up, we've got Egg Fortress Zone. It's decently challenging, which is what you want from a final level, but it's nothing unreasonable. Act 1 goes as you'd expect, but Act 2 brings an unexpected twist. Eggman uses a machine in order to reverse time to try and undo the damage Sonic and Co have done to his base, making you go back through the level in reverse time. So far so good, but as has become a bit of a recurring theme in this game, the final boss sucks all the fun out of the proceedings like a depressing blowy. The first phase, fine, bit slow, but I can live with it. You need to run towards the giant mech's back and jump into a blue missile in order to damage it. Whatever. It can be a bit finicky with the platforms that don't do an amazing job of conveying they'll come back once broken on your first time. You might die, but you've likely only lost a couple minutes at the most. What is not fine, however, is the second phase. An endless runner with annoying obstacles that getting hit once results in a high likelihood of instant death. And if that happens, you have to do everything all over again. Once you finally overcome this unnecessarily steep hurdle though, the game ends on an animated cutscene of Sonic and friends landing back on Earth, with it being mildly different depending on who you end the game with, but all getting across a happy ending and Trip being welcomed as a true friend. And speaking of, beating the main story not only allows you to play as her, but she has a story all to herself, so let's go through it and see what she does to set herself apart from the rest of the cast. Let's start by talking about her design. As you can guess by her name, Trip the Sun Gazer is based off the real-life Sun Gazer lizard, and I feel the design's solid all around. It's impressive that she manages to fit right into a cast originally made 30 odd years ago. Her real-life inspiration also ties into her gameplay, and I've gotta be real, she's one of the best new playable Sonic characters in recent memory. She's got a little bit of everything, the speed of Sonic, the double jump of Amy, the wall climbing of Knuckles, even better than his in fact since she can spin dash along walls. And it does make sense for her since they adapt the Sun Gazer lizard's incredibly spiky scales as a way to cling walls in gameplay. She retains all the emerald powers you get in the main story, meaning that the developers can tailor the levels to be more challenging since she's so versatile. Speaking of, can't forget about a unique emerald power, being a fireball, taking the Sun Gazer name a bit literally, and her super form takes it to the extreme. I'm glad that they went with something so unique, letting you play as the dragon form we briefly saw in the main story mode, and when she does, you've got the additional speed and jump height, plus the power to fly freely, even better than Tails since she can't get tired. She truly just gets the best of all worlds here. Oh, and that fireball is just a full-on flamethrower now. Sweet. Oh yeah, I just remembered, I said earlier that I'd talk about music that I like in this game. Not to sound too negative, but like I mentioned before, I think it's really mid. There just isn't much here that grabs me. Almost every Sonic game has at least a few tunes I gladly listen to outside of the game, but there's literally nothing in Superstars I feel that strongly about in his soundtrack. I mentioned that the special stage is kinda catchy. Speed Jungle's alright. Pinball Carnival's a bit of an earworm. And the final Egg Fortress theme does go kinda hard. And of course, as I mentioned before, Sand Sanctuary is a genuine bop. It's probably the best theme in the game in my opinion. On the whole, the strongest thing Sonic Superstars brings to the table is the levels. Granted, the trip exclusive levels do tend to lean a bit towards the put a bottomless pit everywhere towards the latter half, but with a combination of the Emerald powers and especially Super Trip's flight, they present little issue. By far the biggest problem Superstars has, and alluded to it multiple times, is the bosses. And I feel like my overall issue with them is emphasised best with Trip's final fight against Fang. 2D Sonic's biggest strength with bosses is when you can engage with it on your own terms. You can play it safe, but you often have the option of getting extra hits with higher risk, since the invincibility frames that they have after you hit them only last a few seconds. This is certainly not the case with Sonic Superstars. Even after the flashing iframes, you generally can't hit the boss again until it's done with its own cycle. And this can result for fights dragging on for upwards of 5 minutes, which, from purely waiting, is utterly ridiculous. I get that they had to account for 4 people playing at a time and the avatar power, but surely they can adjust the amount of hits the boss takes, or how long it cycles into the next phase where you can strike back depending on how many active players there are. I know I've made some mentions of my disdain for the bosses over the video, but Fang brings it up to the forefront. Fuck all of his instant kill, no checkpoint bullshit. It took me close to like 45 minutes to beat this bozo. If this is the way he's gonna go on, he can go back to the shell for another decade until he learns to fucking behave. Struggling through this isn't for nothing though, as clearing Trip's story unlocks the last story. The egg that Eggman has been after the entire game has hatched, revealing a large black dragon who serves as the true final boss that Super Sonic needs to contend with. Now I remember hating this boss, but revisiting it for this video, I really only have a couple of little issues with it. It takes a couple of times to get into the groove of things, but the most important part of the fight is getting rings. They'll be dotted about, but if you see Amy, Tails or Knuckles, you'll get a bunch more, but the chances of them appearing are completely random as far as I'm aware. The first phase focuses on bumping into the blue meteors he spits out for them to bounce back into him, and when he pulls you into the brief sideways flight section, you just need to dodge the black holes and hit the dragon, but if you get caught, that's what the boost is for, but really only use this as a last resort since it takes up an obscene amount of rings when they're already pretty hard to come by. Phase 2 plays out pretty similarly, except this time avoiding these claw attacks. You can hit his hands, but I found this to be really finicky for some extra hits, and the sideways section has fireballs instead of black holes, which I found to be way easier to manage than his first phase, honestly. Lastly, you'll have to hit some meteors just as the target reticle covers them, dodge his laser, and hit one last target reticle to finish the fight. The only thing about this boss I'm not a fan of is that last target reticle bit. I find it to be a bit wonky, but I only really had to do this twice. It didn't give me much of an issue, really. I want to like Sonic Superstars more than I do, and I feel like part of it is because I do think this game gets a lot of flack online that I feel is quite unnecessary. The stages, arguably the most important part of a platformer, are a lot of fun to traverse, and the game is polished. I didn't really come across any bugs or glitches all throughout my time with it, but the bosses just waste so much time that it does make it tough to get back to at times. If you're into 2D platformers, and especially if you've got a friend, I do reckon you'll overall enjoy it. The game is definitely worth your time, but I can't exactly blame people for falling off purely from the frustrating bosses. Like, I came away liking things a lot more than disliking them, so people saying that this game is a disappointment or objectively horrible or a bad game, which I have seen, I think is quite overblown. Sonic Superstars is fun, it's just not the best 2D platformer in the franchise, or really of recent memory. If I did, like, numbered scores, this is the perfect example of a 7 out of 10 game for me. It's overall a lot of fun, it's worth your time playing. I didn't feel like I regretted playing or buying the game at all. It just has quite a few significant problems that could be ironed out if they ever decided to do a sequel, but apparently Sega didn't like the feedback that Superstars had got, and classic Sonic is being retired for a while, so who knows when we'll get a 2D platformer. Honestly, I kinda wish that they just made that Mania sequel. But what did you guys think about Sonic Superstars? Please tell me your thoughts about it, whether positive or negative, in the comments. If you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more. Apologies for the delay in it. I've had a new computer, so getting up to grips with everything again is taking a bit of time. There'll also probably be a bit of delay in videos for the foreseeable, just while I get to grips with my new computer. It's a lot more powerful though, so I should be able to make more videos on more stuff, and they should look better, I think.